Hi, I'm Sylvia from Vintage Kitchen Vixen, and today I'm going to be doing a review of my favorite kitchen reference books. The reason I am sharing my favorite kitchen reference books, I read these books like I would any other book. I'll curl up on the couch, or at night I will read books about food. I love food, clearly. I mean, I write about my kitchen. I have a big pile here, so I'm going to start from the top and we're just going to go down to the bottom. Now this isn't done in any particular order, it's just what I grabbed from my shelves. So we're going to start from the top. The first book I'm going to review is Fermented Vegetables by Kirsten and Christopher Shockey. They were massively inspired by Sandor Alex Katz, who is what they call the father of fermentation revivalism. Life was breathed into the art of fermentation, and fortunately it's being done more and more by people. More popular fermented foods that you might think of are sauerkraut, kefir is a fermented food, and it's just a way to naturally preserve food, and it encourages healthy bacterial growth, which is really great for gut health. Now this book is full of information and it has all kinds of neat recipes like asparagus kimchi, sauerkraut of course, and all kinds of condiments that you can put on your food. So it's a great read, a lot of great recipes in here, and I recommend it. Next on our stack, we have my all-time favorite baking book, which is Flour, Water, Salt, Yeast by Ken Forkish. This book is a gem. If you are brand new to bread baking, I probably wouldn't recommend this book just because there is a lot to it. You're not just mixing the dough. You are taking temperatures, you are fermenting overnight, especially when you get into the sourdoughs. But if you aren't a bread baking novice and you want to take your bread baking to the next level, I recommend this book. It has a wealth of information, and just a heads up, if you do pick up this book for yourself, be prepared to spend some money on supplies. You're going to need some Cambro containers. I'm talking about big containers that you're going to be doing your poolish and your biga starters in. You're also going to need a thermometer and some Banneton baskets. But I love this book, and I love every single bread I've made from this book. This book, The Flavor Bible by Karen Page and Andrew Dornenberg, I pick it up several times a week. Basically, the concept of this book, you have all kinds of different flavor profiles in here. So for just randomly, if we do dates, it'll tell you the best season to use dates in. So autumn through winter. It's sweet. It has a cooling function, which I did not know. Weight, medium to heavy. Volume, moderate. I'm sure you'd have to read the beginning of the book to understand how they measure all of these things by. It's been a very long time since I read the beginning or the introduction of this book, but then they tell you all of the flavors that go great with dates. So for example, almonds are great with dates. Cheese, it's like in bold and it's capital letters, hence the cheese. Parmesan, chocolate, coffee, cream and ice cream, yum. Cream cheese, orange, mascarpone, maple syrup, nuts, pistachios. And then sometimes they'll have like little recipe ideas that you can take into consideration, or dishes, different flavor affinities. So with dates, caramel plus vanilla plus walnuts apparently are a great combination. So I love this book. I build a lot of recipes using this book. If I'm making something with rosemary and I want to see what else goes with it, I'll pick up this book, I'll take a look, and then it's just great for playing, and it's one of my favorite kitchen reference books. Next on the pile is the Victory Cookbook by Marguerite Patton. Now, I have already referenced this book in one of my previous videos when I was doing a recipe covering Victory Borscht, which was adapted from this book. Now, Marguerite Patton, she worked for the Ministry of Food during the Second World War. So she was helping families to become more creative and resourceful with the ingredients that they had on hand. She developed a lot of recipes, and you can see a lot of recipes, a lot of articles that were published during wartime. And then she goes year by year. And then she also covers after victory, because after victory, there was still rationing up until 1954. So, great book. I love it dearly. My only issue with it is that it doesn't have page numbers. What book doesn't have page numbers? And then they'll like, go to page 64 for this. And you're like, I can't find page 64. That's the one issue that I have. Other than that, love it. And this is one of those books that I kept at my bedside and read every night. While we're on the vintage book train, we're also going to touch upon the Vintage Tea Party by Angel Adori. And don't worry, all of these are going to be linked below if you want to take a look at any of them or pick a copy up for yourself. Angel Adori, she started out with her own shop, and then she got into party planning, and then she eventually wrote this book. It is full of recipes. There are ideas or activities for if you want to throw your own vintage tea party, like sewing these aprons, and I think there's one where you can make your own jewelry using sugar. So she has all kinds of really great recipes in here. It's a beautiful book, beautiful illustrations, and some of the different dish ideas that we have in here. We have pomegranate iced tea, how to dry edible flowers, classical scone recipe, lemon scones with lavender cream. And then here we have a hair decoration. So there's a little tutorial on how to make your own fascinator. So it's not just recipes, but it's also activities, fun and games, that kind of thing. Just best practices for throwing a successful vintage tea party. Look at this, potted prawns. I don't know how well you can see that. Very cute book. This book, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat by Samin Nasrat. Now, you may have seen her show on Netflix. I haven't watched it, but I first picked up this copy. I got it from the library first, and I got this from the library, and I loved it so much that I went out and got a copy for myself. It walks you through everything. To know how to cook, you need to know how to use the most essential elements, which is where Nasrat boils it down to salt, fat, acid, and heat. As long as you know how to manipulate these four elements in cooking, you should have no problem with preparing a really fantastic dish. And in my videos, in my posts, I draw a lot from her wisdom that she has shared with me, and I impart it to you. Something like salting chicken really well. I learned that from her, and she also has some great recipes. So it's not just theory in here, but then she teaches you how to use the theory. But her whole goal is for you to abandon recipes, and she's partly the reason how I learned how to do that myself. But she has everything from basic vinaigrettes to slow roasted salmon, to how to make chicken confit, to a Sicilian chicken salad. So really great book. It would make a great gift to somebody who needs to learn how to cook and survive on their own. I'm going to skip over this book for a moment and get right into Baking by James Peterson. Now, this book was gifted by my mom for Christmas one year, and for the longest time just kind of sat and collected dust on this shelf, and then I really started to use it. And I love his pictures. He's really detailed with his instructions. So he shows you how to make a fragile pastry dough. He shows you how to make banana cream pie. So He'll go through the basic elements and then step by step he'll show you how to build with them. So he'll show you how to make a buttercream and then how to make a cake with buttercream, so that kind of thing. Now if you are looking to bake bread, he does have some bread recipes in here. I use other reference books for baking bread, but for pastry, for pies, for fillings, this is a great guidebook to have on hand. It is a weighty tome. If I would have to guess right now, like this book is probably 20 to 30 pounds. Like, I think it weighs heavier than my child. Yeah. So, Le Grand Larousse Gastronomique. It is a giant reference book. Now this is available in English. My copy is in French, but it takes you through everything. It's essentially a food encyclopedia. And anybody who is serious about food, anybody who is a foodie, will want to have a copy of this on their shelves. Because at any time, if you don't know what something is, you can just look it up in this book. I mean, yeah, you could use the internet, but I don't know, I really like the feeling of going and picking a book from the shelf. And this book, Julia Child read this book before bed every night. She had her own copy when she was really exploring her passion for food, when she was getting to know everything. So I don't know if you've ever read the book My Life in France. It is her autobiography, and she writes about this book that she kept at her nightstand, and she would just read it like it was a light reading thing. So a lot of great pictures. So nuts, they show you different nuts, different sprouts. They reference chefs, so you also have like famous chefs in here. How to taste wine, just everything. Like a page on zucchini. Marvelous book, very heavy. And since we're on the topic of Julia Child, of course, what kitchen is complete without a copy of Mastering the Art of French Cooking? I bought this book with the second one. I don't recommend the second book. I love the first one, and then the second one, you can just tell that there is a rift going on with her and Simone Beck. So this book isn't just Julia Child, it's Simone Beck and then Louise Berthold, who was just completely written out of the second book because she didn't do anything. She was kind of just there and took credit, and both Child and Beck had issues with her, and then in the second book, Child had issues with Beck. But this first book, I mean, this was Julia Child's baby. This is what put her on the map, that and her French cooking show. There are wine suggestions for the meals, all kinds of amazing recipes. There are variations on everything. My biggest issue with it is that she measures in quarts sometimes, and I don't measure in quarts. I usually use cups, or I use liquid measurements like milliliters, and I use grams and such. So sometimes that is a little bit of an issue. But other than that, I think everybody should have this if they like French cooking, and if they're not scared of butter or cream. And one of my favorite Julia Child quotes is, if you're scared of butter, use cream. We're down to the bottom of the pile. We have Pastry by Christopher Felder, Mastering the Fundamentals of French Pastry. So I guess you may have noticed a trend. I really like French food and French pastry. So kind of like the same concept of baking by James Peterson, Felder takes you through the basics. He breaks it up into lessons. So lesson 1, for example, is lesson 1. Lesson 1 is pâte brisée, so a short pastry dough, which you use for making quiche or making chicken pot pie, that kind of thing. And then he takes you to lesson 2, which is crumbly sweet pastry, or pâte sablé. So he just goes through the basics and then he starts building up on it. So what to fill those things with. So as we move on, you learn how to make compote. Applesauce, for example, it's kind of like a compote. You have Linzer pastry, and it keeps going. Granny Smith chips. That sounds really good. The cakes that this guy teaches you how to make, like classical. This is classical French pastry. Like, you'll learn how to do everything. You learn how to temper chocolate in here. You can make a chocolate raspberry cake. Mixed fruit white chocolate dacquoise. Now, if you don't know what a dacquoise is, you're gonna learn in this book. Lime mousse. How to make a fraisier. Oh, and if you haven't had a fraisier, oh my goodness. You need to have one of these one day. And one day, I will be sharing a post on how to make a fraisier. I don't know when that's going to be, but one day, there will be a fraisier post. Spun sugar. Anyhow, this book has how many pages? It only has less than 800 pages. It is a weighty tome. Not as weighty as the Larousse, but it's a hefty book full of valuable information. Okay, so those are my top 10 favorite kitchen reference books in no particular order. If you are new to my channel, thanks for joining me today. I also have a website which you can find below, or you can visit vintagekitchenvixen.com, but you will find this video post in written format as well. I generally share tips for simple living, creating memorable gatherings, and preparing wholesome and traditional meals. So this video is a little bit different, but if you like what you see, I hope you will consider subscribing. I'm really glad that you're here and that you've made it this far. And if you are not new to my channel, welcome back. I'm always so glad to have you here. Please like this video, leave a comment if you feel so inclined, and if you really liked it, you can share it with somebody. But that's it for me for today. I put out 2 new videos a week, so I will be seeing you real soon. Bye!